Welcome to the Defense and Aerospace Report. I'm Vago Muradian here at the Paris Air Show at the historic Le Bourget Airfield outside the French capital. Our coverage here this week is sponsored by L3 Technologies as well as Leonardo DRS. And we're honored to have with us Filippo Bagnato, who is the Managing Director of Leonardo Aircraft. Sir, thanks very much for joining us. You guys are unveiling a new trainer aircraft, big focus on the M345, which is on the lighter end of the market. And you guys also have the weaponized or the light fighter version of the M346. I want to start with the 345 first. It's a derivative based originally on the 211. That was the Aermacchi, very successful aircraft you guys had. You guys updated it into the 311. Now it's in the 345 iteration. Tell us what you're trying to achieve on the market with this new aircraft.
Yeah, with the 345, which in reality is not a derivative, because in an aircraft when you begin to change the engine, the flight controls, the avionics, the landing gear, etc., is another aircraft. Is another aircraft for this reason. In order to obtain, let me say, in Italian we say the bottle full and the wife drunk. What I mean? I mean that we have an aircraft which is a jet, so is able to performing and to challenge the young pilot more than turboprop because of the climbing speed, the maneuverability, etc. But with a cost of a turboprop, because our design aim is to maintain the cost of this aircraft as lower as possible. And this is the reason why we are achieving this goal. Also consideration that with the new engine, the Williams one, we have a quite, let me say, economic engine, not only economic in terms of acquisition cost, but in terms of life cycle cost, including the fuel consumption. So, putting together all these elements, I think that we will have a very competitive aircraft. And for me, a very competitive aircraft means an aircraft which help the Air Force to reduce the unitary cost of the training of a single pilot.
Your aircraft, it's 4,500 kilograms. It's on the lighter end of the scale. What do you think Chile has been interested in this airplane. You guys signed an agreement with them some time ago. What's the market outlook for this aircraft? How large is the addressable market, and how big of a chunk of it do you think, in terms of units, you're going to be making, say, over the next 5 to 10 years?
I think that in front of us, honestly speaking, I'm not in love with the theoric market desk analysis. I am coming from another world. But of course, in order to develop our evaluation, we have done our evaluation on a prudent vision of the market of a couple of hundred of aircraft.
Let's go to the 346. In service with the Italian Air Force, the Israel Air Force is using it, Singapore Air Force also is using it. The T100 derivative of that is competing in the United States for the TX competition that hopefully will be decided this year. Two of the competitors there are Lockheed, Korean Aerospace Industries, and then Saab and Boeing are also in the mix. What I want to ask you is about the strike version of the 346. That's an option that you guys had when you developed the airplane originally. You had that option. Why are you exercising that option now? And what's the market you guys are targeting with this aircraft? Ultimately, where do you think you're going to have the most success?
On the 346, clearly, in consideration of what we said during the briefing, the airframe, the basics of the aircraft are there, and this means that they have been already conceived to this purpose, to the purpose of having an advanced trainer with a sophisticated capability in terms of, in one side, maneuverability, on the other side, with a very sophisticated onboard software simulator to prepare the pilot for the last step before jumping on the fighter. When I say jumping on the fighter, fly solo on the fighter. And on the other side, we had already in mind to develop the version for the attack role. Today we are continuing our investment in order to allow to our customer to move from one configuration to another very easily, to avoid to the customer who are interested on both to reinvest on the logistic support, which is not a detail. And so now is born also this new version, which is we think that especially for the kind of asymmetric war that we are experiencing the last how many 20 years. 20 years is not always necessary to utilize super sophisticated aircraft for those kind of operation.
What kind of price savings do you estimate if you're using, say, a 346 instead of, say, an F-16, for example, to do some of these lower-end sort of strike missions? What's the kind of cost savings that you guys are projecting?
Of course, the cost per flight hour of an aircraft like this in respect of the real fighter like F-16 or others, we are talking as a minimum less than 1/3. But I'm very prudent when I say this one. This is fundamental, especially coming back to the cost of the pilot, cost of formation of the pilot. This is fundamental because avoid an aircraft like this one with a high level of maneuverability drastically cut the number of hours of the operational conversion unit. The operational conversion unit, as you know, are the fighter two-seater, and in consideration of that the cost per flight hour is in that big range that I mentioned, you may imagine that at the end of the story, because of this element, you may have a cost per pilot which is 50% less using this kind of aircraft.
One of the markets that you guys are targeting is that F-5 market. The Northrop F-5 was very, very successful in air forces all around the world. Is that the market you guys are targeting? And if that's the market you're targeting, how many units do you expect to sell of this strike variant of the aircraft?
I think that, once again, I don't like to provide the theoretic market analysis numbers because...
But we're reporters, so we like stuff like that.
Yeah, but at the end of the story, what is important are the contract achieved. But overall, considering all the version altogether, with radar, without radar, I think that we can talk of 300 aircraft, something like that.
of this one that you guys hopefully are going to be selling.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, you guys also do transport planes, the C-27J, that enjoyed success, but things have slowed down a little bit on that market. What's the outlook for the C-27J for you guys now?
The C-27J is today since years is in its segment is the only one real assault aircraft that exists in the market. When I say assault, I'm not talking of a pure logistic aircraft able to carry on loads from one airport to the another, but I'm talking of a real aircraft to be utilized in the operation, landing behind the lines, landing in semi-prepared runway, so it's the only one. I think that in front of us, for that aircraft, there is a market of 100, 150 aircraft.
So you're still confident you're going to be locking more sales in it?
Until when we will not have in the market a real tactical assault aircraft like the C-27J, I think that there are no many actors in this market operating.
Let's talk about the another aircraft you have a piece of is the Eurofighter. Had a string of successes. What's next for the Eurofighter program? What's next for sales that you see for an aircraft that is at the real high end of the market when it comes to capability, but also for price?
With the Eurofighter program, we have just achieved the Kuwait contract, and we are also taking care of other initiatives as a team of Eurofighter. So when I say team of Eurofighter, I'm talking of also our partner that are playing an active role in the market.
BAE Systems and also Airbus, EADS. I was going to go old school on everybody. Airbus.
Yeah. So there are interesting perspectives that I don't want to elaborate too much on this subject because of obvious reason. The today customer are very happy of the performance of this weapon system, and I think that we have in front of us years to come to support this super weapon.
Are you satisfied with the investment that European governments have put into the capability of constantly improving? Because I remember when we spoke at past air shows, there was a little bit of concern that governments were not investing as much as they should to remain on the cutting edge of that capability.
I am very happy. I am very happy also because of my personal history. I started 45 years ago working on the Tornado. And with the in that period, the European, in the same period more or less, they got two important decisions. In one side, on the civil area field, to invest on Airbus. On the other, in the military field, on invest on Tornado. Was 25 years before the launch of the Erasmus program. So with 25 years of advance. We learned in Europe how to design, how to build, how to support an aircraft altogether. 25 years before the Erasmus program. So it means that today in Europe there is a capability of 1,000, not 100, 1,000 of technicians that they know how to design, produce and support an aircraft together. So for me the Europe of the defense is already there. So I think that this initiative that Europe is now getting seriously is fundamental. Is fundamental. The European, they put some sort of illness that I was calling eurosclerosis in this field for more than 20 years. Very welcome. It's the right time.
Well, so what does that new aircraft look like? Because you mentioned the Tornado program. That involved the British, the Italians, the Germans that developed that cutting-edge aircraft. Then the follow-on to that was Eurofighter, which involved, again, Italy, Germany, and the UK. This time around, there's a lot of discussion. There's been a lot of discussion heading into the air show about a next sixth-generation European combat aircraft. There's a debate about whether or not it'll be all the Eurofighter partners and France in it, or does France go its own way? Let me ask you a two-part question on that. What does this next-generation jet need to look like? What are the combat capabilities that it has to have? And will France or should France be part of this next development program?
Today, giving you the shape of the new aircraft, it seems to me a little bit too early. But clearly we are working on technology maturation, and we have not to forget that today we have already in Europe an important program which is in the definition phase, which is the MAIL 2025.
The medium altitude, long endurance unmanned aircraft program.
Exactly. Which is after years the first sign that we are re-beginning working together on new project. The next step, I think that based on the experience that we have done in various programs, like the Neuron with the French, other programs, we will have to work on a new UCAV concept, and then we will see what will be the final shape of the next generation of defense aircraft. But once again, let me repeat, the capability are there, because in 50 years we learned how to work together. Maybe with making mistakes, but the knowledge is there.
Is it going to be a manned aircraft, or does it have to be an unmanned aircraft?
Or a combination, who knows? It's too early.
Does France have to be part of it? Do you think that the European market is now so small that France should be a part of this program?
No doubt on that. And then you have not to ask me this question to me, because I have just finished 8 years of work in France. That was one of the most exciting working experience in my life. With the French is a wonderful way of working. Wonderful way of working.
So you think that France would bring a lot to the program if it was part of it?
I think and I want.
So let's talk about another thing that you guys have done successfully with France, which is the ATR project, which is on turboprops. I'm going to shift to my last question, which is going to be on commercial aircraft. The ATR line was very, very popular. You're looking at a new generation of turboprop aircraft. Talk to us a little bit about what you guys want and are developing.
On the turboprop, is not a secret that we are studying a project which is based on a family of product optimized for the short connection. I'm not talking of entering in the field of the regional jet, always working on the connection of which are economic for the airline based on turboprop, but of a larger size. So as a family that start from a 90-seater, it can grow.
On the 346 program, when you're talking about the range of munitions, what are the range of munitions you want to equip the 346 with? How much payload is this new light strike fighter going to be able to carry? And the mission packages as well.
You've seen here we have 7 pylons. The point is to give the maximum of the flexibility. We have designed this new pilot to carry on the infrared short-range missile on the tips in order to provide more freedom and more flexibility of utilization in the other pylon. And as you can see, we can apply for a variety of weapons dedicated both to closer support operation, battlefield interdiction, RECH mission. So there is really a large range of weapons that can be provided.
And after 45 years in this business, if you were going to say what's the one key to a successful international development program, what is it? Because, for example, you know, F-35 had all of its challenges. You know, you mentioned Tornado. Tornado had its challenges in Eurofighter. What's the key lesson from your standpoint?
In one single word, it's not easy. But to have a success with the customer is fundamental to be able to listen. And in order to be able to listen, you must be competent. Otherwise, you will have only noise that are entering in your eyes.
And F-35?
In your ears.
And F-35, are you proud to see it displayed here, given that you guys even have a piece of the F-35 program with your FACO that's in Italy?
Yeah, there is a good offset program.